I couldn't be more excited. Jen Mathews, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to see you here at Consensus.
Yes,
You're doing
good to
some
be
really
here.
neat things. Tell us about you.
What about me? I'm a former journalist. That during the pandemic, I was in the Clubhouse era and heard this thing called Web3 and decentralized finance, and I just dove headfirst into it. And I've been able to transition full time into Web3 and build on blockchain, the different passion projects in art and music, being able to like push those together and actually make a sustainable living while also onboarding like friends into this space. So it's been kind of cool.
That is cool. So tell us about that journey. So
Yeah.
this leap that you made into Web3, this is a conscious leap. Other folks may not know what that means. Maybe they're thinking about it. So tell us a little bit about your journey, because I think it would be fascinating.
Yeah, well, I always say like I had like a little bit of a head start because I'm a journalist, like formally. So I'm always who, what, when, where, why, who should care and why. So when I started hearing about decentralized finance and cashless and blockchain, I was like, I mean, I've heard about this stuff, but I'm hearing about it more. So let me do a little bit more research.
Yeah.
And I started pitching these ideas at work, and it was like, no, we don't really care about that. It's the height of an election season. You know, we're going through like the pandemic, so nobody really cares about decentralized finance. I was like, well, I guess I'll do this on my after hours. And my after hours turned into, oh man, I'm doing this all the time. I'm on Twitter Spaces. And I remember when Clubhouse, everybody moved from Clubhouse to Twitter Spaces. And it was like a big thing. And then NFTs had their run. And now that NFTs have had their run, I think a lot more of us are getting in the space and understanding the technology and like the education behind it. It's not just you're buying a JPEG, like you're actually looking in the infrastructure that can help consumers do things like buy tickets, you know, or get their paycheck like instant instead of, oh, my paycheck is processing. But like with blockchain now, it's like, just send me my money, here's my wallet address, and I can have it right then and there. So we're moving more towards the education and use cases for consumers, which that's what I'm excited about.
That's great. That's really, really cool. So for artists, for musicians, for folks who are like, this is so important to me. Do I trust this platform? Do I trust this channel? How do you coach people to think about this when they want to put their art on chain, for example?
So 2 years ago, I would say, you know, put your music, bring your audience with you on chain. We've had a lot of great programs. We have Zora, we have Optimism, we have Sound XYZ, Manifold. There have been a lot of great platforms that have helped artists, like musicians, bring their music on chain. But now it's like, okay, so now that I have this, now that I've bought this, like what does this mean? So now artists are having to revamp, you know, how they utilize Web3 and the blockchain technology. I'm actually pushing more towards music publishing. How do we get that information on chain to where whenever somebody writes a song, you know, everybody can see whose wallet belongs to what and who gets a percentage of that song. So I'm looking more towards like the evolution of Web3 music as opposed to just putting it on chain.
I like that. I like that. So when it comes to the let's say the innovation attributes of Web3 as a platform for these folks, what do you say to them as far like, this is the value proposition, there may be many, of thinking about Web3 and your art?
So, for instance, Spotify, no shade to Spotify or Apple Music, but you have to at least get like maybe 100,000, 130,000 streams to get like $4,000. Now, like USD, right? If you have 4 or 5 people on that track for publishing, that splits up everything. So you may or may not go like leave a song until like you have $500 to $700 a piece. Whereas on blockchain, you can bring that audience and you're building out a platform. Like I look at it as if I'm bringing my art, like my fan base onto this platform, I'm onboarding you. I'm letting you know how to get a wallet. I'm letting you know the difference. Like I feel like you can't just be an artist in the space. You actually have to be like an evangelist for like the culture of blockchain and explaining what I was talking about earlier with consumer use cases and how you're getting in via music, but blockchain is not going anywhere. You will be using it later on, like going to the grocery store, buying concert tickets, you know, magazine companies, journalistic organizations will be using blockchain to store their data. So it's one of those things where it's like, here, you can collect the art, but just know that you're a part of a movement that's going to evolve. And it's been evolving like in the past like 3 years, it doesn't look like the same space that I joined.
Yeah. So what's your outlook then on the consumer side of consuming the music, the art, etc.?
Ooh, we have a lot of work to do because we're still so very early. And I know that sounds so cliche to say that, oh, we're so early in the space. Like if you're here, you're early, because we still don't know what's happening. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of regulations. And cryptocurrency is global, and not all countries are equal, and not all regulations are equal. Like we have our SEC in the US of A, and then we have other governments that are, doing things. Bitcoin is growing in Kenya right now, so like there's like a lot of regulation that's going on. But that until we figure that out, it's really, really going to be hard to get consumers on board, because it's like, oh, here's yet another piece of legislation, or here's another news story that's letting me know, like, oh, this may not be safe. So it like we go 3 steps forward only to get knocked back 20 steps, and it's like, oh, we were just so close, and then a news story breaks.
Yeah.
So
how should people persevere, or should they just watch and wait?
I would say like dabble in cryptocurrency,
Okay.
not to shield any particular wallet or anything, but find a wallet of your choice, like put $5, $10, in, and just try to bridge coins, try to swap different coins, look at different places. Like there are so many advocates that are actually doing the work, and like YouTube University is free. So there's like a lot of education. I go back to watch things from like 3 years ago and compare it now. It's really, the earnest is on the actual consumer that's interested in the space. But then also, if you're already in the space, like you have to be an advocate. Like you have to talk about Bitcoin, you have to talk about Ethereum, you have to talk about Solana, Arweave, whatever. So it's one of those things. You have multiple hats. You just can't be a creative or a builder in this space. Like you actually have to be an evangelist on like the tech side and like the decentralized finance of it all.
I think it's great. So they've got to get in the game.
You have to suit up, get your jersey. Like you have to. That's the only way that you're gonna learn.
Well, I'm inspired, talking about getting in the game, I'm inspired by the work that you're doing with women in Web3.
Oh, me too.
Tell us about that.
Oh, me too. She-Fi and Boys Club and Women in Crypto are like the 3 organizations that I am like heavily involved in. And I stumbled upon them in a Twitter space, because we were talking about the different conferences that we go to, and we get the, are you a +1? Are you the assistant to the CEO? And it's like, no, we actually are nerds too. We like the tech, we like the idea of it, because a lot of people were getting into it that were women because, they were +1s, we're locked up in the house with our significant others, so you just kind of learn about it. A lot of people just was like, hey, listen, let me teach you, and it just has grown into like this big like group of women, and we all are cross-trained. So if you're in She-Fi, there's a high likelihood you're in Boys Club. It's a high likelihood that you're in Women in Crypto, and it has become a global phenomenon where we have people in Lisbon, we have people in Sydney, we have people in Europe and Asia, and just, if you want to learn, if you're a woman, there's there's an entry point for you. And She-Fi, they have a cohort going on right now, season 10. They're getting ready to ramp up for season 11. Just to, even if you're curious, crypto curious, DeFi curious, it's an entry point for you to learn. It's 12 to 16 weeks, I believe. And like you go from the bare bones to what is a wallet, what is the difference between a hot and cold wallet, how do you find which wallet to use and swap tokens and stuff. Very, very user friendly. So by the time you end, you're like, okay, I might not know everything, but I know enough to be in the conversation. So when I see an article on CoinDesk or New York Times or whatever, I'm like, okay, I've heard about that. That makes me excited.
I love it. I love
too.
it. So you get that spirit of conversation. Tell me about the spirit of community that you're building with other women in Web3.
I love when I see, it's almost like, and if you've ever been to an event and you see like a bunch of women huddled up, it's always like, oh my gosh, hey. It's like we're surprised that we're in the room, but we're excited that we're in the room, because I'm like, you remember like 2-3 years ago, it was like maybe 1 or 2 of us, but now it's like we're all in the group chats, like who's coming to consensus, who's coming to permissionless, who's coming to DevCon, ETC. We like have these like global group chats that we all just kind of find ourselves in, or Twitter chats, and it's just been a really, really great community builder. I've met like 3 or 4 different women over the past like 2 days that knew nothing about She-Fi, Boys Club, or Women in Crypto. And I'm like, here, what's your number? What's your Telegram? Like, what's your social media of choice? here's the invite. Tell them I sent you so you can get on the list. And it's been like phenomenal to see that, because we know that the crypto bros do it. You know, there's literally a party that says no bros allowed, this put on by my friend Gigi, who's over at Crypto Tech Women. And she was like, you know, how about we play on this crypto bros narrative and say no bros allowed, and it's just for us women. And it has become like a really big thing. Like we just had one in Dubai. We had one in NFT NYC, and we're having one at Consensus. So it's been really
That's
cool.
awesome. That's
I love
awesome.
talking about it. I get so excited because I'm like, yay, women.
I think it's just so important, because I think along with the education, the very tangible opportunities that you laid out, that sense of community is just something that's so sticky. People want a sense of community, a sense of belonging behind this, and it sounds like you're trying to set up a system of a lot of support.
Yes, I mean, I feel like if there is a pipeline to the C-suite, I feel like there's a pipeline to cryptocurrency for women, you know, and I just am enjoying just being a part of that and building the blocks where I can.
That's great. So Jen, where do we find you? How do we keep up with this? How do folks that want to get involved, especially with women in Web3, the crypto, all that stuff, how do they find you? How do they get involved?
So I'm Jen Marie, INC on everything. So I like to think of myself as an incorporation. But also SheFi.org, Boys Club, everything is on Twitter, Instagram, wherever, Farcaster, Warpcaster, Favor, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
And then Women in Crypto, and then Boys Club, yeah.
That's great. Jen Marie, INC. I can't be surprised that you've completely branded this. I love it.
You know what? It was like, it wasn't my choice, because at Jen Marie was taken by a teacher in like Nevada. And I was like, I'll let you have it. I'll do something else.
You killed it on the branding. I love it. Good stuff. Hey, Jen, thanks for spending time with us. I
Thank you
appreciate it.
so much for having me.
Great job. Great job.